Hi, it's Gareth Beavis here at the Sony event to launch the two new Sony phones. Now these are the big hitters from Sony. We've got the Xperia XZ Premium and the Sony Xperia XZS. Very confusing names, I think you'll agree. Essentially though, these are roughly the same phone. The main differences are, obviously, as you can see, the XZ Premium is bigger with a 5.5-inch 4K HDR screen, where this has only got a full HD 5.2-inch display. But the cameras are the same, both been upgraded, and apart from the difference in size and the mirrored finish on the Xperia XZ Premium, they're essentially the same phone. So we're going to focus on the Xperia XZ Premium and bring you all the features of that and what Sony's really brought to the table in terms of upgrades.
So ladies and gentlemen, a little bit of housekeeping first. This is a pre-production sample of the Xperia XZ Premium. So for things like the slow-mo video recording, which we'll show a little bit later, we're going to use the Xperia XZS. But onto the design of this phone. It's a big device with a 5.5-inch screen and it's a fingerprint magnet, but you're going to buy it for this mirrored finish on the back if you like that. So keep a cloth with you and it'll work quite nicely. In terms of other headline specs, we've got a 19 megapixel camera on the back with an f2.0 aperture and a larger 19% bigger sensor because you can get better low light photography. Overall, there's a lot to like about this phone, and while it is a bit bigger, it is kind of phablet level. It fits quite nicely in the hand and the overall look is rather attractive. It's got a rounded curved edge, which means that it feels like an almost infinite band around the whole of the phone. It's an improved design from Sony. It's very similar to its previous heritage, but it does jump forward. And on the side we've got a fingerprint scanner in the usual place for Sony, unless you're in the US where there is no fingerprint sensor at all. This is the Xperia XZS, which is slightly different, a bit smaller, doesn't have the same mirrored back, but ultimately still quite a well put together phone. In terms of spec for the Xperia XZ Premium, we've got a Snapdragon 835 processor with 4GB of RAM. It's very snappy under the finger, even at this pre-production stage. So as you can see here, video looks quite nicely, opens and shuts very quickly. Apps didn't have any slowdown, so for something that's pre-prod, that's actually quite a good sign. Again, on the bigger screen, everything wishes along quite nicely, and with that tri-luminous X-Reality display engine on there as well, it looks attractive too. Okay, let's talk about the camera. The pixels are bigger on this phone, so that means that low-light photography will look better, in fact 19% larger. And if you see something you want to take a photo of but you miss the opportunity, this phone is going to give you a hand. What it does is takes a predictive picture, so if you just miss that moment, it will take a snap just before. You can have a look and see if the phone actually captured it and choose the best result. It does seem to work well, it does keep everything clear and in focus, and even at this pre-production stage, we were quite impressed with what we saw. Okay, let's get on to the highlight of this phone, the slow-mo video recording. It takes 960 frames per second, which is insane for a phone. It does it at 720p, and the low light is a little bit grainy, but ultimately it works very well. We were very impressed. As I said, this is using the Xperia XZS, but the interface is identical and the functionality the same. How it works is you start the slow-mo video and press the shutter when you think the slow-mo motion should actually happen. The phone very intelligently works out exactly when that should be, and the effect is very impressive. Now we should say here this is in a studio condition, so lots of lovely lighting on a white background with glitter. It's gonna look good, but it does show exactly what you can do with this phone, and I put glitter on my hands for you guys. I hope you appreciate that. It did not wash off. The other highlight of this phone is the 4K HDR display, and you're probably wondering, do I need this? Well, for once, Sony seems to have a reason for it. Unlike the Xperia Z5 Premium that had a 4K display with no content, Sony has partnered with Amazon Prime this time, so with Prime Video usage, you can watch HDR 4K quality content on your phone. And it does look good. You've got brighter colours, better contrast ratio, and overall the effect of the screen is better. Do you need 4K all the time? Probably not, and it will have an effect on battery life. But it does give a pleasing effect on the eye, and if you're looking for a large-scale phone with a good 5.5-inch 4K display, well, you're not really spoilt for choice, but this is the phone to get either way. And in terms of audio quality, while we didn't get to test it at the event, Sony should be making a great sounding phone here because it's got high-res audio processing and good upscaling on the phone. Plus it has a headphone jack, which Sony felt they needed to tell us about, so thanks Apple for making that a thing.
Right, so this is the Sony Xperia XZ Premium, and I've got to say, slightly impressed. Although it's quite iterative in design, you'll see this is a Sony phone. I like the upgrades. The mirrored finish is quite nice. It's a fingerprint magnet, but quite nice. It's slim, the camera's powerful, the screen looks really nice. Whether that will last on battery, we don't know. But it's a big phone from Sony, and it's one we've got big hopes for. So let's see exactly what Sony can do when it finally comes to the shop shelves later this year. Thank you very much as ever for liking, thank you very much for subscribing, and if you want more information from Tech Radar about the bestest phones in the world, this is the place to come.